Things that I have learned about Martin Luther King during my research.
So even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow,
On a hot summer day in 1963, more than 200,000 demonstrators calling for civil rights joined Dr. Martin Luther King
I have a
Jr.
dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
King was shot April 4th, 1968. The manhunt for James Earl Ray lasted 3 months, and then finally he was caught. Shock and distress over the news of King's death sparked rioting in more than 100 cities around the country, including burning and looting. Once again, the heart of America is heavy. The spirit of America is heavy. The spirit of America weeps for a tragedy that denies the very meaning of our land. The life of a man who symbolized the freedom and faith of America had been taken. Alfredo Jafar illustrates how divided America was when Martin Luther King died. One frame illustrates all African Americans with black dots. The next frame, whites represented with red dots. There are 1,000 of the black dots and only a few dozen red dots represented. I think this representation is worth 1,000 words. You can see how divided America really was. In Birmingham, plans to integrate public and commercial facilities turned defiant when Birmingham decided to close public parks and pools rather than integrate. The Kennedy administration acted and proposed a civil rights bill outlawing segregation in public facilities, but the bill, of course, met opposition in Congress. Some argue the civil rights movement never recovered after King's death, but his legacy lives on. So how did white America mourn the death of Martin Luther King Jr.? It is difficult to comprehend why Americans from every racial background did not mourn the death of a slain civil rights leader. Somehow, it was an African American affair to the whites because they considered King an activist for black rights rather than equality. One civil rights historian, David Garrow, said that for whites it was a partial and selective mourning, and that most whites only mourned for the fear of the effects his killing would have caused. Men of all races, all religions, all regions must join together in this hour to deny violence its victory and to fulfill the vision of brotherhood that gave purpose to Martin Luther King's life and works. As a young white woman living in the South when Dr. King was assassinated, I saw glee, satisfaction, and weeping in equal parts. I was a freshman and in the Phi Mu sorority suite at Memphis State when I heard it on the radio. Some girls walked into the room talking and laughing about it. I remember cars honking and a general feeling of celebration around me. I felt bad, but was too stupid and gutless to speak up. Dr. King's assassination was announced at the performance of a play I was attending at a black college in Durham. I was a young white instructor teaching for the first time. The news, shocking. And my first concern was for my students and what Dr. King's death meant for them. But there was little time to think of that as I was being escorted out of the auditorium by one of the black professors. I did not feel in danger, but quickly found myself in a campus police car being driven away with a few other white people. I was 13, living in Carmichael, California, a predominantly white suburb of Sacramento. At school, the day after the assassination, 3 of us walked to the flagpole and asked the custodian to lower the flag. Pointing to the office, he said you couldn't unless someone from there told him. The vice principal came out to see what was going on and said he would meet with just one of us to calmly discuss it. We agreed. Melanie would be our spokeswoman. After her meeting, she told us he fed her a pile of administrative platitudes. It's out of my hands. There are protocols to make decisions like this. Blah, blah, blah. We couldn't get them to lower the flag, but we tried. In the black community, the debate back then was Dr. King versus the black separatists, and the fact that many of us decided to back Dr. King. That's why his being shot hurt so much. So there's so many powerful lessons learned from Martin Luther King Jr. Dare to dream. He worked his butt off for his vision, dream, to bring to reality. Persevere. He was incarcerated how many times for what he believed in, but he would not back down. Invest in yourself. Educate yourself. You owe it to yourself. Forgive. Be quick to forgive. Stand up and do something.